Hey, welcome back to Everyday Jesus. My name is Derek. Thank you for joining me. Following Jesus is hard. There are a lot of times where it doesn't make sense. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to apply what Jesus has done and said to our lives. And again, that's what this channel is about. But it is not always easy. It's not always clear. The way our natural minds work and the way Jesus wants us to work are often at odds. But one thing Jesus says in John chapter 15 has been standing out to me today. He says, it's a pretty big section that's really awesome in chapter 15. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But he says, "Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself, unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me." And he goes on to say, "Whoever abides in me and I in him, it is he that bears much fruit. For apart from me you can do nothing." And later he says, "If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you." He says, "If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love." And he says an amazing thing. He says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." I encourage you to read that whole chapter, but that word abide comes up time and time again in that chapter. Abide means to stay in, to remain, to live in, to dwell in. And I think Jesus is saying here, sometimes we've got to stick it out, right? He says the Father will check the vines and see what's being fruitful. He'll cut off, and what is fruitful, what has remained connected to the vine, he will prune so that it's more fruitful. We talked the other day about bearing fruit and how Jesus wants to see signs of life in us. And he wants that for us. But it's interesting that he tells us too that if we show signs of life, we'll actually be pruned, we'll be cut back sometimes, which is painful and confusing. We think, why am I being cut back here? Why am I being stopped here? Why am I experiencing pain here? But Jesus says it's because I want you to be more fruitful. And this is what the Father does to encourage life in you. And so there are times when we're following Jesus that things get hard and it feels like things are against us, and they are. But sometimes it's the Lord pruning us so that we will bear more fruit. The worst thing is to start to follow Jesus and expect that it means everything will be smooth sailing, and then get frustrated and doubt when it's not. Jesus promises us there will be opposition in following him. There will be pruning and discipline as we follow him. So we have to keep that in mind. We have to keep that mentality of abiding in him, staying with him, remaining with him, enduring with him. All those things that I think he means when he says to abide in him. Stay there. Don't give up. Keep pressing forward in his words, in his love, and in his commands, and we will see life. And then later in that section, he does just say, "If you abide in my love." I think sometimes we can overcomplicate things, and in the discussions that we have and the theologies that we discuss, and they can be good things. But also Jesus calls us to just abide in his love, stay and remain in his love, loving one another and others as he has loved us. So sometimes it's as simple as that, remaining connected to Jesus, remaining on the path of following him. Doesn't necessarily mean understanding certain things or facing these challenges perfectly. Sometimes it just means loving those around us, especially the most difficult, the most challenging. So I just want to encourage you with that today, wherever you are. If you're following Jesus but having a hard time, I just encourage you to abide in him, remain, endure with him. And he promises that that will bring fruit. It may be a while, but if you don't know right now what it looks like to follow Jesus in your situation, I just encourage you to endure. Look at how to love, where to love in your situation, in your relationships. How can you love God right now? Sometimes that means just loving your closest neighbor, family members, roommates, co-workers, spouses. Sometimes the most direct thing, the most direct way that we follow Jesus is by loving as he has loved. He says, greater love has no one than this, than that you lay down your life for your friend. Do you have an opportunity today to lay down your life, lay down your rights, your preferences, your lifestyle, your desires? Is there someone before you today that you can lay those things down for, to serve and bless and love? Maybe that's what Jesus is calling you to today. Because that's what he calls us to in general. To love others as he has loved us. You know, we just came through Easter, where Jesus laid down his life for us and then came to new life beyond it. We are promised, and I promise you, that if you lay down your life for someone in front of you, a spouse, a friend, a neighbor, a sibling, it seems like the worst thing. It seems like the most painful thing that you can imagine, giving up your preferences and your desires. But I promise you that if you lay down your life in love for them, you will find new life through it. Mixed with pain, mixed with struggle, mixed with hardship, but new and enduring and bountiful life. That's the trick of existence in some ways. What we think will satisfy all of our desires just continues to come up empty. But we keep hungering for them. We keep chasing them. We keep pursuing these things that we think will please us. We keep trying to order our world in the ways that we want them. But Jesus says, give all that up, lay all that down, and then you will find true, full, enduring, everlasting life. That's fulfilling now and for eternity. That's the kind of life that Jesus calls us into. That's the kind of love that he calls us to abide in with him. Following Jesus is hard, but not following him is so much harder. The things that we desire, the things that we hold on to, are the things that will kill us. But he calls us to abide in him. He calls us to stay connected to him. And he will give us life. He will produce life in us and through us if we stay in him, endure with him. So I just encourage you with that today. Seek what it means to abide in him. Seek what it means to love like he loves today. You don't have to look far. There's probably someone really close to you that you can love, that you can lay down your rights and your life for, in small ways and in big. But that's the kind of life that Jesus promises us. He calls us into. He commands us to, if we're going to follow him. Bless you with that today, and I'll see you next time.